I'm glad you've joined me for another episode of Bible Q&A, because today we're discussing what is a sin against the Holy Spirit? Well, we can find that out by analyzing how our hearts work and what our interests are. Because to sin against the Holy Spirit is to work against God's purpose and live like those who don't even know about God and His will. When you're like this kind of person, your love of the world will eventually eat up your spirituality and you will start to know less and less about God. That's why we have to make sure that we don't love the world. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God. James chapter 4 verse 4. Again, it's not like we have to be hermits and live in the mountains. It just means that we have to be careful not to adopt the customs of the world and abandon the customs of God. If you decide to not take this advice, then eventually, even when you think you're serving God, you're actually using the standards of the world to define what God should want and what you should do as a Christian. That's what the Pharisees did, because they saw how Israel was as a people, and they said, hey, if we want to stay in power, then we have to adapt God's laws to those of the people. And we can see that in Matthew chapter 15, verses 7 to 9. Those things would influence how they would treat Jesus, according to places like Matthew chapter 12, verses 1 to 8. Another good example of this is King Saul. His love for the world and his lack of knowledge about God and understanding caused him to not really do so well as a king of God's people, according to places like 1 Samuel chapter 13 and 15. And eventually, he had to give up his throne. It was given to David, according to 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 13. David was the one who knew how the Spirit worked. Cast me not away from thy presence, and take not thy Holy Spirit from me. Psalms chapter 51, verse 11. Therefore, we have to examine ourselves, 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5, and check what's most important to us. If we love things of the world more than God, then we have to use the Word of God to perform a spiritual checkup and correct these views. God must always be the most important so the Holy Spirit can remain strong within you. King Solomon said, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. And that is where I think I'm going to stop with this Bible Q&A. What is a sin against the Holy Spirit? To sin against the Holy Spirit is to work against God's purpose, to try to crush God's plans through your actions. If He wants to work through someone, through your family, then your actions can pull them away from God. You can't be like that. You have to make sure that you are working in a way that promotes God's purpose, that you are helping other people come towards God. That is my advice for you. Please, if you want to hear more from me, like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.